Hey, how are you? I'm the Dr. Bob Lee from 107.5 WBLS. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, you're watching Open. Coming up on today's show, we'll speak to a writer, director, along with cast members of a new film titled The Burden of 9 Lives. Then we'll check in with an author, an educator, who will highlight her latest children's coloring book project. Plus, we'll shine a light on the latest work of a national security and foreign policy expert. And then finally, we'll speak to the CEO and the co-organizers of a soldier cemetery restoration project. You don't want to miss it. Sit back, kick off your shoes, and relax your feet. We're wide open. Here we go. Hey, I'm the Dr. Bob Lee, and you're watching Open. It's that live interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. Stay connected to us through social media at BronxNet TV. Leading things off, our next guest are an award-winning director, an editor, writer, and host of the leading actors of the film, The Burden of 9 Lives. They join us to highlight the work done on the film and to promote its upcoming premiere. It's here. It's happening. It's on and popping. It's lit. Please welcome to the show Vega Montanez, Steven Staine Fernandez, and Luis Berrio.
Pretend there's an audience.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. You hear the audience? You heard the audience? At home and in the studio.
I love it.
Listen, you guys were here before, no
Yeah.
stranger to the show. And where were you at that point? You were just getting it done?
At that point, we had just finished it up, and we were doing the New York City premiere downtown on 59th Street. So now here we are almost exactly a year later.
Here we are.
And it's coming to everybody's home. Well, it's in everybody's home on Amazon Prime now.
There
watch
you
it
go.
right on
You're
Amazon Prime.
right on point. So give us a quick synopsis of how it all came together and what's about.
Jimmy Diaz, played by our good friend Steven Staine Fernandez, goes on a revenge mission after he confronts Gabriel, one of the more dangerous drug dealers in the city. And throughout his revenge mission ends up pissing off the true kingpin of the city, Russell, played by Luis Berrio. And we get to see the excitement and chaos that he drives throughout the whole city while we explore the ideas of street vengeance versus just letting things go.
Yeah. So are you still in character? Because some people stay in character.
Yeah. I never liked letting things go. I just hold on to them for dear life. Just texting him for now. No, you know, it's one of those things you make the character human as possible. You take bits and moments and you just hone in on them. And and then going through these scenarios, which he did go through, it's a life-changing. You know, nice kid with a great heart, and all of a sudden he's just, there is the vengeance element, but there is also the good-hearted part that he's just like looking to, in his own terms, in his own way, make things right. And he just got caught up in it, and it's a dark world. He got caught up in it, but you know, he did what he had to do, as many have to, and he came out strong in his own way. In his own way, I would put it like that.
Was it tough, Louis, studying your character?
Well, I feel like any other character, there's always a backstory.
Yeah.
You know, he's king of the city. He's the big man on campus. So the idea is, you know, you have to act like the big man on campus. And the idea is, you know, a story of, you know, who likes being betrayed. Even the big mean guys don't like being betrayed about certain things. But I think the idea is like he's not looking to hurt nobody unless they mess with him. So his idea is like, you know, you leave me alone, we have no issue. But we decided to poke the bear. I don't know where that goes.
Yep.
Now, wait a minute. How do you take your characters home after you work, like after a day's work?
I mean, you do your best not to. I'll put it like that. You do your best not to, because if
I
you
gotta
did,
leave this home. This is
you bring in some plates. But you just go and prepare, do the best things you can. But I will admit, there are some scenes that are dark, that are intense, that are some moments that, you know, if you do it right and you do it as truthful as possible, it's a balance, but your body may not even distinguish
Yeah.
that. No, that's not your mom. No, that's not your dad. No, that's not your brother. But that moment right there, the intensity of it, the truthfulness of it,
Yeah,
maybe whatever you did to prepare. And I forget doing a scene for an audition, and I remember having to go back and forth with this girl over like an argument. And she was like, if you're in an actual couple, she just gave me this advice, you usually would trip over each other. And at the beginning, we kind of just like said it, and it just felt very, like, not much happening. But then we went at it having that in mind. We both have tears in our eyes.
Yeah.
That was acting, but there's something about the body that just couldn't distinguish. This felt truthful as possible because we just created that moment that for our bodies, it was like, this feels real. So there's an element of that.
Yeah, you know why I mention that, because some people get involved and so involved that they keep that character for a long time, and it's hard to get out of it. So you can get into the next project.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's like one of my favorite things about all the actors I work with is that extra level of commitment and engagement that they take it to, where they do really create those extended layers, right? Like there's stuff on the paper, but the backstories, what happened before we got to what we're seeing on the screen, right? Like all of those emotions. So I do sometimes wonder too, like, how do you guys get back out of that afterwards? Because
It was always like that.
it gets pretty deep.
The moment before you go on set, and you mentally prepare yourself to go into something also, but the camera reads you too. The camera could look into your soul and see if the audience is gonna feel this too. I think De Niro says a line like, try to be still. Don't try to overact. Don't try to do too much. Let the camera read you, how you're feeling. It's so much about behavior than just words too.
Yeah. Is this method acting?
Nah, we didn't break anybody for real.
No.
Yeah. I don't think
That's dangerous. Lewis's goons in the movie are both UFC fighters, but you know how bad this would go.
That would be horrible. For me specifically, if they were
real
method. If they went in there not being aware of, like, you're like 200 pounds heavy.
Right.
So be gentle. I'll act. Don't worry. I can act my way into the vehicle. But yeah.
There's a scene in the movie where so heavyweight fighter Waldo Cortez Acosta from the UFC is in it, and his coach Javier Torres, who is a middleweight. There's a scene where they're with Steve, and they hit him a couple times. So I thought of that immediately when you were like, "Did you do method acting?" I was like, no, not at all.
No, bring in the stunt double.
Just make it look good.
Bring the stunt double,
Just like,
please.
I'm going to move my head this direction, and you don't have to even get close to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things.
Where does AI fit in? I remember walking a picket line trying to contain some of that AI.
Zero.
SAG
There's zero AI in this film. No AI usage. I don't even think we got to use AI on like the poster arts.
Yeah.
And I say get to because I feel like there's certain elements that you can play with.
You see
on.
it coming though.
Yeah,
Right?
but I do think that from the AI perspective, right, it turns the art into a science, right, which I feel like this is unspoken. This is a little unspoken. It's a personal space for me as far as the audio thing, right? So audio is going to be the most affected by AI first because audio is all primarily science, right? It's like the science of figuring out decibels and what goes in the mix, what frequency, stuff like that. So that's a lot easier to computate with AI. I don't realistically believe you could ever computate human emotion and like the behavior, like Louis described. Like there's a lot of behavior that goes into it that you can't even really explain in a lot of cases, right? There's like even when I'm directing, there are moments where I don't actually give them instructions. I give them scenarios. I'm just like, hey, listen, this moment is happening right now, right? It feels like your mom was scolding you, right? Because you took a cookie when you were on punishment and you were in school, like those type of, because there isn't a very clear, like this concrete sentence is going to mean the same across the board and everybody's going to show you the same thing for sadness. Like that just doesn't exist. So I think that's where AI doesn't have as much of an impact, but on anything that's super science related to the arts, I think AI is going to destroy those fields.
And one of the main concerns, concerns from SAG-AFTRA and a lot of the actors was that say you have a group of extras, they come for one day. They come for one day, and then they film that, they get that, and then they don't have to come anymore because now you have the crowd. You have the people that were there the day before.
Yeah, I
So
feel like that's
AI
not AI though. That's
Well,
that's
they were
already
concerned-
been that's CG. Like they did that
They've
for
done that before.
remember they did that for the baseball games during COVID. Like they had
That's
all the
right.
fake people in the crowd. Like it's
Right.
not AI. It's just CG stuff. And I think it gets conflated too easily. But I do think it's kind of crazy, right? Like they could just film a
But
crowd
see,
of
they don't
people
get paid.
and never bring them back.
Right,
Just
they
be
don't
like,
get
yeah,
paid
throw
anymore.
this crowd
That's it.
everywhere.
As long-
That was
I
one.
think-
That was one of the because
Major concern though.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
concern because like you
Yeah,
said.
as long as one thing is, as long as you're not using someone's image and likeliness and all the above without their consent, and their consent would be, listen, if you sign, then therefore this could be. But I think we should unite it as artists and say, no, you come to work, you should be paid, compensated accordingly.
Yeah.
You showed up, you did your thing, and I think that's where we need to stand together. Technology has always come in and has helped, has adjusted and changed the world in its own way. But I think unity as us, especially as creatives, you understand that, but also you do your part. You can't just shrug and say, well, it's like, well, there's a lot of things that we can do.
Yeah.
But I think the heart, the human element, I think you can't replace that.
Nah,
You can
not
bring
at all.
anything in the world, and there's something that we just, we're not replaceable in that sense, and that's a beautiful thing when you capture that in a camera.
Yeah.
And not only that, but who's watching it? Like when you see a great movie surpassing the acting, surpassing all these elements, is that human element,
Yeah.
that interaction, that moment, whatever that might be, that just brings you back to a scent when you were a child, just because of a scene or a sound or an element of a movie you saw.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing about this world and what we do.
And it's good to know all aspects of the business when you're doing a movie. Like Vega, we have a trailer coming up, all right?
Hey, let's
The
go. Let's
Burden of
put
Nine
the trailer
Lives.
up, baby.
Bring it in. Talk about it before we bring it in.
I'm actually really excited about this. So, I think this would be the first time a lot of people see this trailer. We had a trailer for the premiere and it was really good, but for me, I felt like it was too long.
Yeah.
Right? It was just a little too long. It gave a lot of great info. So I was really excited when we got this back. We actually worked with a team out of the Dominican Republic to cut this trailer together.
Yeah.
So
Let's take a look.
Let's do it.
Awesome.
Hey, Mr. Diaz. How are you feeling today? Your cousin Donald and your friend Curtis were murdered in cold blood.
Where were you 2 nights ago?
He's gone. I really need your help on this one.
Marcus is dead.
Look at me, Jimmy.
Boom.
Woo!
That wasn't a long one, right?
Just like
That was much better. Get right
Nice,
to it.
nice.
Yeah.
I hope it generates some excitement. You know?
Yeah. So what did it take to just sew everything up and put this together? And now it's out. Here we go. We're going to go. And
Yeah.
You got to also tell us where we can go watch it.
Yeah, you can definitely go watch it right on Amazon Prime. That's the first place I need everybody to go stream. The big thing with this business is relationship building, right? So building relationships with these studios gives us the opportunity to do more of them, right? So that's the key, because that's the hardest part. Going into the other part of the question, right? The hardest part really comes down to the funding and development of it, and then the distribution, right? Like those are really the most difficult parts. In between, everything else is a lot of really creative work and the fun parts and the engagement. We get to do the acting, the filming, the editing. But before that, it's the really heavy business sides. So that's the toughest part, like getting the investors. And then once you have a movie finished, going through the process of getting it on a platform like Prime or Tubi or any of those.
Everybody get involved.
That's right.
It's right here, The Burden of 9 Lives. And you can go to
Amazon Prime.
Amazon
Check it out.
Prime.
Yep.
And you can go, you have a website, social
Yeah,
media.
you can type in theburdenofninelives.com. That'll bring you right to the website. We're actually going to be putting up a game similar to what we did with our Nico film release,
Beautiful.
where we had a little adventure scavenger hunt for a chance to win free tickets to the movie theaters for a year.
Beautiful.
So there'll be some cool stuff going on there. But like I said, check out Burden of 9 Lives. I think you guys are going to love the incredible performances these guys put on.
There you go. Vega, Steve, and Louis, give them a big round of applause in the studio and at home, too. We thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. We'll take a quick break. I've got more open coming up next.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
Welcome back. Hey, our next guest is an educator, an author, and executive director of Doris L. Morrow Academy. She joins us to share her new children's coloring book project. It's a beautiful one. Please welcome to the show, Kimberly A. Morrow. Kimberly, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Bob.
Nice to see you. I caught you earlier, right? I said, hey, we're live. Here we go. Where are you?
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited to be back. I had some other great news to share with you, too, from our last conversation.
Uh-huh. What is that? The last time we spoke was about a few months ago?
Yes. Actually, I feel like it was longer than that. But we were talking about the vision board workshops that I do.
Yes.
And one of the things that I said is I wanted to take the show on the road and I wanted to do more of them.
Uh-huh.
And I am pleased to report that I have been doing just that. I recently returned a couple of weeks ago. I did a vision board workshop for St. Philip AME Church in Stone Mountain in Decatur, Georgia.
All right.
And I've been doing a extended workshop series with Santa Monica Community College, and I've been renewed for the entire school year. So I'm very excited with the vision board workshops. Yes. And we talked about it here.
Oh, beautiful. See, this is like a springboard for a lot of projects. And I'm glad everybody's receiving what you're putting out there well. And you're a teacher. Explain that. Talk about what you do as a teacher and how you became a teacher and how you started doing what you're doing now.
Okay. So actually started teaching way back many years ago in 1996. When I tell my students that now, they're like, oh my God, like you're
96,
so old.
I wasn't born yet.
Exactly. So I taught for 11 years. I taught civics, world geography, U.S. history, U.S. government. And then I became a principal. First, I was an assistant principal. So I taught 11 years. And then I was an assistant principal. And then I became a principal of a K through 12. And then I retired during the pandemic and founded my own academy, Doris L. Morrow Academy. And I work with homeschoolers. So that's pretty exciting. During that time period in 2018, I wrote my first book. It's called A Prose of Wisdom, a parenting guide. Empowering children is the way to go. So I actually founded my own publishing company as well. So I self-published my book. But over the years, I have been very fortunate to publish other people's work as well. So I have several authors that I've published. And, you know, just a little quick plug. This is my most recent author, Gail Laverne Smith. Her book is Pinpoint Gullah Geechee Gal, My Stories, My Poems.
The Geechee Gal. All right.
Yes. This just came out September 22nd.
All right,
So,
congratulations.
yes, thank you. And I have another author's book I'm publishing. She's beginning her pre-sale November 1st, Olivia Almagro, and her book is Cherish the Day.
Oh, beautiful. Now,
So
uh, you mentioned as a teacher that you were involved, you taught civics.
I taught civics,
Yeah.
yes.
How
So,
do you,
which
how,
leads me to this.
yeah. And before you get to that, how do you apply some of the things that you used to teach to what's happening today in politics?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I know,
So
I know.
yeah. I actually did an interview a few years ago during the election cycle when Trump was running against Biden.
Uh-huh.
And what I had said back then was, these are things that we've actually seen before in our history, and we're going to get through it. But I will tell you, if I had to do that interview again, I would say that in the United States,
Yeah.
we've not seen this before, that I'm aware of in our history, but other countries have seen this before. And what's happening, coming from a history perspective, a civics perspective, is very scary what we're seeing, the
Yeah.
rhetoric that we're hearing,
So this is a
because
little bit beyond civics.
it's
There's a
beyond
lot
civics.
involved. There's a lot
Yeah,
of hate
yeah,
and
yeah,
there's a lot
yeah.
of
And
division.
it's yeah. And so getting back to civics, I would tell my students and have always told my students that the power comes from the consent of the governed. That's what it says in the Constitution.
Yeah.
And so they get their power from us. And if we do not elect them, they no longer have power. And so we have to remember that they don't have power over us unless we give it to them.
Yeah.
And so when people say, I'm not going to vote, voting doesn't matter, you're giving up your power. And so that's the way I apply it as a civics teacher. We have to remember that the power of the government comes from the people, not the other way
So
around.
exercise your civic duty.
Exactly.
Now, what was the book you were holding up a little while ago?
Oh, so it's called Trailblazers for Change.
Uh-huh.
Mina and Myron learn about historic first. So as a teacher, recently I've been going into a lot of classrooms. So like I said, I'm not in the classroom full time as a teacher. So I
Yeah.
work different programs. I work with my homeschool students. I go into classrooms, and a lot of students, they're young, right? They're born in like the 2000s now, and 2013s and 14s, and the fact that Kamala Harris is now running for president, I wanted them to understand that somebody came before her who paved the way. A lot of these children have no idea who Shirley Chisholm is.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to just write a book or create a worksheet. I thought it would be interesting to have characters, fictional characters. So these
No.
twins, Mina and Myron, they are learning from their grandmother who's teaching them about these people that came before Kamala Harris. So she's telling them about Shirley Chisholm and Jesse
Yes.
Jackson, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton. But it's done in such a child friendly way where it's interesting. There's a line in the book, in the story, where the grandmother says, "Would you like for me to tell you more?" And the grandson says, "Boring." Like, and so I wanted it to be, something that children could relate to,
Yeah.
and still be educational, and then also interactive. So they're coloring pages. That's why I did the coloring book as
Yeah.
opposed to just doing a children's book.
That's good. Well, you're doing a lot to help our youngsters get to the next level. Can you tell us about your parenting guide and how parents can better prepare their kids for a successful year?
Yeah. So, Eight Pearls of Wisdom, it really gives parents some insight as to how to begin preparing their children early for whether it's college or career by just exposing them early on. I think I shared with your audience before, when I was writing this book, one of the things that I reflected upon as a high school principal, when parents would come in with their ninth graders and they would say, what should I be doing to prepare my child for college? And in my mind, because I wouldn't say this to them, I would think you should have started before you got to high school. So a lot of times parents don't realize the power that they have where they can begin introducing their children to various colleges and careers at a very early age. And not so much as you got to get ready to work, but more just exposing them to all of the different careers that are out there. A lot of times children, they just don't know. They get to high school and they don't know about all of these other careers that are available to them.
Yeah.
And so there's a section about that. There's a section about if you think your child has a learning disability, how to get them tested. And then the last section, my favorite, is for parents, and it's about self-care, because a lot of times we spend so much of our time and energy making sure that our children are well taken care of. And if they're like me, we're in this generation where we're taking care of our parents, we're taking care of our kids.
That's the
And
sandwich
so,
generation, right?
yes, yes, yes. I was definitely in that. I had my mother and I had my kids I was raising. So
Yeah.
just understanding that our self-care is just as important. And one of my favorite lines that the flight attendants tell us:
There you go.
the first thing you do is you put the mask on yourself, and then you put the mask on someone else. So
Take care of
we have
yourself
to
so you can
remember
take
to
care of
take care of
others.
ourselves
Yeah.
first. Exactly.
Take care of yourself
Exactly.
before you can begin to take care of others.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly. And unfortunately, some of these lessons were learned the hard way.
Yeah, yeah.
They were hard learned lessons, but because of that, I'm able to share with others so that that way they don't have to learn those lessons the hard way.
Yeah. And then finally, once again, you have the latest book, the coloring book. And so,
Yes, and the coloring book is available. It's available through my website,
yeah.
kimamarrow.com. Or if a school is interested
Uh-huh.
and they need to buy a book, and a lot of schools have accounts with Amazon, they can go on Amazon.com. If a bookstore would like to order it for their store, they can go on Ingram and get it. So it's a number of ways that this book is available.
KimberlyAMorrow.com.
Oh, no, just Kim.
Just Kim.
KimAMorrow.com.
I know, I just threw that in there.
Oh,
But don't listen to that. Say it again.
KimAMorrow.com.
There you go. Kimberly, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thanks for joining us, okay? And
Thank
good
you,
luck with
Dr.
everything. And come back
Bob.
again.
I will. I'll share more stuff with you.
You got it. It's a deal.
All right.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too. We'll take a quick break. I've got a whole lot more. Keep it right here on Open.
What's up, creative family? Discover your voice with BronxNet Community Media classes. Are you ready to bring your ideas to life? At BronxNet, we offer television production classes for community members ages 18 and over, empowering you to share your vision with the world. Get certified in field production, in-studio production, and our new exciting addition, podcast production. Once certified, you can create your own show to air on one of our 6 TV channels. It all starts with our free Unleash Your Ideas Masterclass, designed to help you plan your show idea and set you up for success on your production journey. This class is offered at the beginning of each month for your convenience. Our dedicated BronxNet team is here to support, encourage, and uplift you every step of the way. Join us and become a part of the creative force that engages and inspires the Bronx community and beyond. Sign up today and start your media journey with BronxNet. Visit bronxnet.org/education to learn more and register. Let's create something amazing together.
Welcome back. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee from 107.5 WBLS. You're watching Open, and thank you. We appreciate you. Our next guest is a U.S. Army veteran, a combat veteran, and an educator, and a national security and foreign policy expert, and the founder of Diversity and National Security. She's here to speak about her latest book, Why National Security Matters, and so much more. So please welcome to the show, Asha Castleberry-Hernandez. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bob Lee.
You ready to go to the range?
I'm ready to
You
go
ready?
to the range. Yes.
All right. So listen, give us a little background on you. You got a lot of history with you, with the coming through the military and everything.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
I appreciate that, and especially for now that Veterans Day is coming up soon.
Yes, yes.
So I think for everyone who has served in this country, because you know we're only less than 1% of the population right now. That's very low compared to the Vietnam War, where it was the percentage was a lot more. So, I just stumbled into the national security field after 9/11. I'm a New Yorker, raised in Westchester County, and just when 9/11 happened, it affected me. And in fact, it was one of those things that inspired me to actually go in the military. I'm that wave that actually wanted to join the military because of 9/11, because I felt like we were attacked, and I want to serve my country and protect my country. Many of us felt that way around that time. So that's when I decided to enroll in ROTC program down in Hampton University. At Hampton University, the real HU, not Howard.
Yeah.
So, and then from there on, stumbled into national security furthermore as a HBCU student, and then also studied abroad in China, learned about the rise of China, and after I was commissioned, the first unit I served in was in Harlem. I'm a Harlem Hellfighter, 369 Sustainment Brigade.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
My daughter just sent me something. She's a Navy vet, but she just sent me something from, what's it, 369, right?
Yes, 369 Sustainment Brigade. Learned a lot from serving as a Harlem Hellfighter, and then went beyond that point of just eventually serving in the Middle East. And I knew I was going to be deployed.
That's history within itself.
Yes.
The 369. So you served in the Middle East, and then what happened from there?
Well, before I was deployed in the Middle East, I was actually a graduate student at Columbia University. And I remember one day walking in, and I used to see Mayor Dinkins a lot too, by the way. Just, his institute was right next door to Columbia SEPA program. And I remember one day walking in and looking up at the TV, and like you said, there's always something going on. Well, there was always something going on in the Middle East, and that's when the Arab Spring happened, when protesting just swept from Tunisia all the way into Iran, into Afghanistan. And that just completely changed the Middle East to where now you had a lot of fragile hotspots happening within the Middle East. And so I deployed right after the Arab Spring, coming into a region where you had some instability in Libya, the Syrian crisis, and then you also had a lot of instability in Iraq. So my first assignment in the Middle East was working very closely with the Kuwaiti Armed Forces on security cooperation, building relations, doing bilateral, multilateral exercises. And then from there, transition to counterterrorism. Now, that ended up happening because while in the Gulf region, a big, nasty black snake coming out of Syria into Iraq just took over the Iraq overall, probably captured about 60% of the country known. And this was fueled or taken over by a group called ISIS. Yes. So the Iraqis reached out to the United States as well as other countries for support. And so my unit was the first unit to go into Iraq after the 2011 troop withdrawal. So President Obama pretty much withdrew out of Iraq and Afghanistan, and then we did a reversal in 2014 because of ISIS.
So now you're working on national security?
Yes, still.
Still?
Yes, so I'm teaching national security. I'm at Holyoke. I'm a Cyrus Vance visiting professor there, where I teach about the executive and legislative branch in terms of how foreign policy making. And then I also teach them about the priorities in national security.
Yeah.
Especially looking at the current ones right now, just coming from the Biden-Harris administration. There's a lot to talk about involving national security, especially when it comes to migration, U.S. armed forces, as how we could build up as a competitive force comparing to Russia and China, as well as looking at cybersecurity, artificial intelligence.
What's that right there?
That is President Obama in the Situation Room, sitting next to Susan Rice as well as John Kerry.
Yeah. So you're around all these people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great, great. Now, when you talk about national security, is it looking at how to keep America safe and our communities safe?
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the 21st century, it's more complex. When you look at the context of national security, you have to look at, traditionally, it's military threats and intelligence.
Yeah.
But now it's more complex in terms of, it ranges from hard security to soft security. Some of these foreign threats are not your typical invasion from one state actor into another. Some of them don't see borders, like, for instance, like COVID-19, cybersecurity, the effects of climate changes. So it's more complicated than you think. And what you're seeing in Washington, D.C. is us driving resources to ensure that we are up to speed when it comes to national security. Now, another thing that's important to note, we spent about 20 plus years on counterterrorism after 9/11. Now we have shifted to what we call strategic competition, which was introduced by former Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis, saying that we are now in the era of strategic competition where we're going to be countering both our near-peer competitors known as China and Russia. But China is more of our enduring threat, where we're going to be really engaged with China on a more complex and enduring basis.
Yeah. You know what I don't understand? It's like me. I grew up. I was into sports. I was boxing, and you go into the ring, and you have an opponent, but you go into the ring and you beat yourself up first before you got in there to address, to confront your opponent. It seems like our country's beating our own butts. There's some things happening here that we need to address too, so that we can come together to look upon all those other things that are happening out there. It seems like we have some threats within.
Yes. So in my book, I've actually mentioned one of our biggest threats is our political polarization, our internal political instability. And that projects out to the world. And you'll be surprised how many of our allies, our partners, foreigners, just watch very carefully how we're behaving, how we're treating one another. And that's a reflection of our global leadership. So political polarization is a critical issue for us. And looking at now, we're in the the end of the elections. Who we vote matters. Who we put out there in the world matters. When it comes to American power, American global leadership, that person that's going to be sitting in the Oval Office, the President of the United States, is a reflection of us. Plus, when it comes to American power, many of our allies and partners look up to us for advice. It's not just about, we want to pull resources from you. It's about also looking up to the American people and embracing our values. And so who we put out there matters. And if we have, someone who is serving as the President of the United States that's combative, that's beating up groups and different people, that's a reflection of how we are abroad. And that erodes American global leadership.
People looking at that.
Yes.
So you got to keep us safe within and in and out. So let's talk more about your book. Let's hold this up. I think we put it up there once before. Here we go. Look. There you go. Throw the picture up also, and I'll drop this. There it is right there. Give us a quick synopsis of what's in this book.
Yes.
Just touch it.
So my book is actually a memoir, and it touches on so many topics of me engaged as a national security professional in multiple areas. So I started off with 9/11.
Yeah.
Then my time in China, learned about the future of the Chinese economy and how I knew at that moment, at 21 years old in 2005, that China is going to be an important actor that we are going to have to deal with. So from learning about that, from about China, and then moving as a Harlem Hellfighter, serving in Central America, learning about democracy, and then returning back to Central America as an election observer during the 2009 presidential elections. I learned a lot about democracy and the importance of why we should vote. And this was right after President Obama won an election. And then shifting from there to the Middle East, learned about counterterrorism, about American leadership, about multiple things. I felt like this is a perspective that people need to know about. You know, I don't come from, you know, a wealthy home. I'm, you know, middle-class woman from New York that has a perspective that looks at things differently and can relate to how I grew up out here in New York.
Yeah.
And I felt like because United States tends to have people that don't think globally, this is a book to help you think globally and helps you understand how things out abroad affect you at home. And what inspired me to write the book is after I came home as a combat veteran, I saw a different type of America. And this is in my chapter, I think 6, where America seemed a bit disappointed about where they stand in the world. There was a backlash on immigrants, the world, trade, I mean, multiple things. And then you start to see the rise of populism and how it's also interconnected with the Brexit in United Kingdom or in Europe. So I remember teaching at Fordham University about foreign policy, and the students there loved it because they felt like this is a perspective that we don't hear about. And so I felt like I need to amplify that perspective and in a relatable way. So my memoir is not just about policy recommendations, which I provide. It's also about just personal experiences, you know, just sitting there as a soldier in the middle of Iraq, helping with the Iraqis, to observing elections in El Salvador. You know, that is relatable.
Wealth of information. You come through a whole lot.
Absolutely.
You come through a whole lot.
And as a woman of color, we need our perspective out there.
Yes.
You know, this national security is predominantly run by white males. So we need more diversity in this space.
I got 1 minute left.
Yes.
What do you tell people who think voting is not important?
Oh, voting is important. It makes a difference. And just going back to why is it important? It's important because representation matters. Diverse representation matters.
Yeah.
But voting has to come along with accountability. Don't just give out your vote. You also hold that elected official or the person you're voting for accountable for the policies that you support. That's why it matters. So who you have in place that works on policy, shapes policy, and listens to the people, they represent you. And that's why it matters.
There you go. War I need.
Shen Shen. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Okay.
Asha Castleberry-Hernandez, author, Why National Security Matters. Pick up a book. It's in all the stores right now, Amazon and all that stuff, all right? Boom, boom, boom. And we'll take a quick break and we'll come back with more. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Again. We love you.
Yes.
All right.
Hey, Creative Family. My name is Timothy Coleman, and I'm the Director of Education here at BronxNet. And I'm standing in BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx because I want to let you know about an amazing program that we're bringing back that highlights the creativity of community members just like you. Emerging Media Makers is a show that introduces you to BronxNet's certified producers. They've taken a step in their creative journey by enrolling in BronxNet's media training classes. On this show, you'll get to see the many ways that our certified producers have created a space that's all their own. Emerging Media Makers, your passion lives here.
And welcome back. Hey, how are you? How you feeling? I hope all is well. Hey, our last guests are veteran advocates for Veteran Action Now, and they join us to raise awareness on the need for a soldier cemetery restoration project and so much more. So please welcome to the show, Kevin C. Meggett and Joe Bello. Did I do it again?
Yeah. Thank you for having us, Dr. Bob Lee.
Welcome. Yeah, I heard you had a cousin on the Giants.
Yes, Dave Meggett.
Dave Meggett.
Sure.
All right. And you have a cousin out there too.
Yeah, somewhere.
Hey, listen, thank you for your service. You guys
Thank you.
are
I
Navy
appreciate
vets,
you.
right?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both Navy.
Yeah.
Both Gulf War veterans.
That's right.
Gulf. All right.
Yeah.
You know, we appreciate you guys and thank you so much for being
I
here.
appreciate you.
So you want to share some information about what we're working on right now. There's a cemetery that
Yes.
needs restoration. How did you get involved in becoming a part of this project?
Well, how I got involved is there was a gentleman that I always looked up to, a Marine veteran who has now transitioned, named Leroy Archibald, who brought attention to a veteran cemetery in the Bronx.
Yeah.
That was just in a bad condition, and it needed restoration. He would try to take on the work by himself, and it was very hard for him to maintain. And when he transitioned, I said, well, I'm going to actually pick up where he left off.
Yeah.
However, no one should have to carry these bricks by themselves.
Yeah.
And considering that it's city-owned property, and the city is part of the state of New York, but those bodies in there are federal.
Yeah.
Why not have the state of New York and the federal government look into putting it on their registry and putting up signage, and because from my understanding, it can't be restored more than what it is.
What?
It just can't. It's preserved. That's why. So but you could make it look much more attractive, and that's kind of our quest. So it went from me pointing fingers like how this is unacceptable for veterans, to being educated on the fact that this was once upon a time private property that has now been taken over by the city, that the Parks Department is running.
The Parks Department is
runs
running
the cemetery, correct. And they're doing the best they can with the little that they have, because as you know, Mayor Adams cut so much from different agencies, and the Parks Department wasn't exempt from it.
Any of the elected officials helping out, like the borough president or
They're aware of it, so we're hoping to see at least some representatives or elected officials tomorrow at this event.
Yeah. Tell us more about the event.
So we're holding a press conference tomorrow at 1 o'clock to bring awareness to the condition, to basically also advocate and lobby for the mayor to increase funding to the Parks Department. The Parks Department was, when they did the last budget, it was one of the most significantly cut agencies. I think I read somewhere it was almost 800 lines, positions that were cut from that agency.
Yeah.
So, between Leroy transitioning and then COVID and then budget cuts, you can imagine this cemetery with at least up to 40 veterans from Civil War, the Spanish-American War, and World War I. It's been neglected.
Yeah.
And the only reason or way it's getting even somewhat cleaned up, cleaned up by maybe taking the leaves out and things, has been through non-for-profits that are coming in and doing like a community job there. So
is the gentleman that was taking care of it the one? What's his name?
Leroy Archibald.
Leroy Archibald. Is he buried there?
No, he's I believe he's buried in Calverton.
Yeah.
Calverton Cemetery.
Yeah, the cemetery is full.
You can't
bury
anybody.
Nobody's going to be buried.
But it's a historic site.
Yeah.
You have four different eras. Like Joe said, you have the War of 1812, Spanish-American War.
Wow.
Civil War and World War I. Thank you, Joe.
Wow.
And so we have to preserve that. But Veteran Action Now.
Showing it right there.
Yeah.
So what does it need? I see some of the signs are dilapidated a little bit.
Definitely more signage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to the historical significance of the cemetery,
Right.
definitely is something that's needed. More signage.
We definitely need more signage. We need it could also use more awareness. I would love to see if we could somehow, some way partner with the Department of Education where they start to hold more field trips.
Yeah.
And educate the kids of, our children of.
And it's a public
significance.
space.
And
The
it's a
Parks
public
Department
space.
is operating
That's
it.
right.
Yeah.
So.
And we need funding from the elected officials. Woodlawn Cemetery runs a workforce development program
Yes, they do.
where they actually train people on restoration and, within cemeteries and things like that. So we definitely want to see that program funded to help.
Can you
with
use
the
part of the
cemetery.
Woodlawn Cemetery budget?
No.
No, they're private.
Yeah.
We need to have more elected officials on a state and a federal level actually look at this and say, how can we partner? How can the city, state, and federal government work together to make this?
Who would
to
you like to
preserve this?
reach out to? Who do you think needs a phone call or?
Definitely as high up in the VA as we could go, because they are veterans. So
Well, a lot of people watch us. We have a huge audience. Why don't you take one of these cameras and ask for what you want and tell people what you need?
Okay, sure. So I believe that area is Congressman Richie Torres. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's his district. I would love to sit down with your office, as well as the city council person and the state assembly in that district. I don't know who they are, but I would love to reach out and sit down and figure this out and how we could perhaps get more government involved in this issue.
And I just want to also put out a direct appeal to the mayor and to his administration to, we are coming into the November reconciliations for the city budget.
Yeah.
And we definitely would like to see amongst other groups that are advocating for parks, it's not just making it clear here, we talk about parks, most people think about playgrounds and parks, it's cemeteries as well. So we certainly are making an appeal to the mayor and his administration to put in the proper funding to the Parks Department so that this cemetery is not forgotten as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have any partners or people helping with the
Well,
restoration?
We have allies like NABVETS, local chapter 0029 in the Bronx, which I'm the commander of, by the way.
All right.
We have VFW, we have American Legion. The thing is, the veteran community in New York City is very fragmented. And what Veteran Action Now is trying to do is unify us, because I believe as long as we're fragmented, we start fighting amongst each other for resources that we don't have.
And we're actually doing that on the cemetery by educating, because you'd be surprised at how many veterans don't even know that this cemetery exists. And in the Bronx, not just in the other boroughs, but in the Bronx as well. So it is about education, saying, hey, look what's here. And that's where we just talking about like some of the signages and things that are needed to, and getting it on the registry.
Getting it on the registry, yes.
Of
Very
national
important.
significance.
Do you think it needs to come out from under the Parks Department, maybe?
That's a conversation we can have. I'm for whatever makes sense. Where the state that it's currently in, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So if maybe
Just put a new sign up there.
Could be a new sign, but maybe the Parks Department could do more if they allotted and restored if the mayor restored this funding back to them. And maybe there's more that they could do. I don't know.
I'm sure
We
they
just
can
got-
reach down into their budget to put a sign
Sure.
up there that's just to start kick things off.
Sure.
Parks Department,
Yeah.
we need you. Let's
Yes,
go. These are our
absolutely.
veterans.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
This would be one way to thank them for their service over the years. This is a federal area.
And I appreciate that, because most people don't. Most people thank us for our service twice a year.
Yeah.
Of course, Veterans Day, which is right around the corner, and
Memorial Day.
And Memorial Day.
Memorial
But
Day.
Truth of the matter is, unless you have a family member that's serving or served, but it becomes a coin phrase, and the thank you that we are receiving doesn't. The thank you that's given to us, it doesn't equate to the services in New York City that we're receiving. So, you know, this talks to a bigger issue. Perhaps we could come back and discuss that one day as well.
And get together with Asha.
Yeah.
Asha's still here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's a vet.
Asha
Army vet. Army expert.
She's got the inside scoop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, where can we go? You got anything up on the website or social media that people can go to follow? And
not too much. It was just a press conference that we put out
For tomorrow.
For tomorrow
At 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, and the goal is to amplify our voice with the cemetery. But you know, underneath we have veterans in New York City and state have a plethora of problems that we need to rectify, and we hope that this can actually start speaking to bigger issues, because our veterans in New York City are leaving in droves.
well, you know, we're talking about veterans. We're not talking about just one branch, right? We're talking about Army,
Navy, Marines,
every branch.
Yeah, so the branches should come together and be a part of this too.
Absolutely.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
And
there
that's
any way
why
we
we're
can-
hoping that they will get a good turnout tomorrow. And again, then we can amplify that message. And then that begins starting having those bigger conversations about, you know, what more can the city be doing for veterans and their family members and Gold Star spouses and, you know, as we move along.
Perfect. And even after the press conference, you'll have something posted where people can go to continue to contribute and be a part of.
Yes. And I want to actually urge all veterans that are not registered with VA, please do so. It's very important.
Yeah. Hey, listen, thank you guys for coming and
Thank you.
come back and share more.
I appreciate
Some
you.
success stories.
Thank you,
going,
my
right?
brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, sit tight for a hot second. Joe Bello, Kevin C. Meggett. Now, we going to win or what?
I hope so. I believe we are. I believe we are.
Tell your cousin to get to it.
Yes, sir.
We're backing you guys. All right. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's show. I want to thank our guests for joining us and our viewers for tuning in and checking it all out. Keep following us on BronxNet TV for continued coverage, you know. And we want to thank you for letting us share in this space and time. And you can join our hosts, Kevin Arlene, Darren Jaime, and Rena Valentine on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Fridays for new episodes of Open. Always remember this: what you are is God's gift to you. What you make of yourself is your gift to God. So choose your choice and let your choice control the chooser. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee, and I'll see you over 107.5 WBLS. I love you all. Peace.